Based in Redmond, Neighborimpact's food bank supplies food and support to over 50 organizations in Central Oregon. And then Donna Berclo on that side over there is program director of Family Kitchen, which serves meals on site and delivers 3,000 fresh-to-go meals to Bend, Redmond, and Sisters. Currently, they are serving over 14,000 meals each month. And last but not least is Abigail Gusky, the Community Food Access Manager of High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, which performs very unusual but necessary functions by helping growers and consumers through distribution of farm fresh food and farm policy advocacy. The Alliance serves Cook, Deschutes, Jefferson counties, and the Federated Tribes of Warm Springs. They donate to the clients of the other two, Neighborimpact and Family Kitchen, and Elizabeth Kirby, our invaluable lead member, will moderate this panel discussion. And I hope that the microphone works when you do that.
Yes, I hope so too.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
perfect.
how does that work?
I think it's the mask.
You have, I think it's the mask, and you also have to hold it like super close to your face. Yes, like you're doing karaoke. So thank you, Marilyn, and thank you everyone for attending today. As Marilyn said, I am Elizabeth Kirby. I serve as the Deschutes League Communications Co-Chair and also as the State League DEIJ, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Chair. If you have questions during our presentation today, there are note cards on your seat along with some pencils. So if you have a question for a specific panelist, please write their name on it, and we'll collect those towards the end so that we can kind of group like questions together. The purpose of today's discussion is to talk about food security in Deschutes County. So to get us started, I just want to share a couple basic definitions to ensure that as we're entering the conversation, that we have sort of a shared and solid base of understanding on what we're talking about today. So food security is defined as the condition in which individuals have reliable access to sufficient quantities of nutritious and culturally appropriate food to maintain a healthy life. And I'm gonna repeat that one more time just because I'm a visual person, so it's kind of hard for me to soak all of that in. Food security is defined as the condition in which individuals have reliable access to sufficient quantities of nutritious and culturally appropriate food to maintain a healthy life. We'll also discuss food access, which refers to the ability of both individuals and communities to obtain safe, affordable, culturally appropriate food, and can include things like adequate transportation options, availability, and price. Again, food access refers to the ability of individuals and communities to obtain safe, affordable, culturally appropriate food, and includes things like transportation options, availability, and price. So now that we have some shared language on the topic, I'd love for each of our panelists to introduce their organization and its work related to food security and food access. And if you can kind of include how your work connects to the greater goal of food security, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Everybody looked at me.
Sorry, Abby.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Carly Auten. I am the food bank director at Neighborimpact, as Elizabeth mentioned. We are what is considered a regional food bank. So we have a large warehouse in Redmond that serves as a distribution hub. Our partners at the state level are Oregon Food Bank, and at the national level is Feeding America. So those are probably very familiar to you. So that is the start of the hierarchy: Feeding America, Oregon Food Bank, a regional food bank such as Neighborimpact, and then our wonderful partner agencies, one of which is right here, Family Kitchen. And our first and foremost goal is to resource and distribute food to the agencies that are part of our regional food bank network. So Currently, we have 57 partner agencies in the Tri-County area. So that is Deschutes, Jefferson, Crook counties, and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. So partner agencies will include meal sites, pantries, free food markets, supplemental programs. And so our first goal is to resource the food to distribute to those partner agencies that do the direct client services. So last year was about 4 million pounds of food that we brought in and then distributed out. And about 40% of that is produce. So there is often an idea that food banking is all canned food and out of date, and what you donate from the back of your cupboard. But that is not how we operate here in Oregon. We are very conscious about the types of food we resource in and distribute out, and same with our partner agencies. And then we do have a couple of direct client services. We do have a mobile pantry. So we have a beautiful truck, refrigerated truck that goes to 11 sites and some pop-up areas that focuses mainly on distributing, again, fresh produce and then healthy meal staple items. And those areas we focus on are what are called food deserts, so areas where there aren't grocery stores or very few grocery stores, and schools, and pretty much any sort of organization or area where we already know families are at, libraries, schools, parks, and so we take our truck there.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know what to do.
So yes, I'm Donna Berclo, and I'm with Family Kitchen. Family Kitchen is a community-free meal site that operates daily downtown at the Trinity Episcopal Church campus. We serve a meal every day and 2 on Fridays. It's either a lunch or a dinner. My reason for being there and staying there for so long is that, which is about 15 years involved and I'm 10 years on staff, is because it is a place where anybody can come have a meal. There's not a question asked of them. In fact, people awkwardly come up to a desk sometimes and say, okay, I'm here to check in. And it's like, oh, just go get some food. And that has worked for so many people for so long. So we have diners who have come to us for more than 20 years, several times a week. We have diners who are just coming to us for the first time. We serve nutritious meals to anyone in need, and we keep it a safe and caring environment. We have over 400 volunteers that help make that happen, and a very dedicated and hardworking staff as well to keep that going. I hate to correct anything because I can't even keep the website up to date fast enough, but truly we're at 20,000 meals a month. A significant chunk of that, and this is new since COVID, is in delivery of meals to other locations, including being the meal provider, for instance, for the 2nd Street Shelter, which is also known as the Lighthouse Shelter, and is in working also on the Franklin Street Shelter. So 390 meals a day are coming from our location in some form to provide meals to everyone in those 2 locations. We also are the meal provider for the Stepping Stone Shelter on Division Street, and that's a Neighborimpact and city organized shelter, transitional housing. So that's coming around 40 meals a day are going out to them. So a significant number of our meals out of that huge meal count are going to people that we don't see, and I think that's important. We'll talk about some more of that, I'm sure, soon. The access piece and the coordination piece, I think, is very important. It's something that Carly's already spoken to. We certainly get our food from Neighborimpact. We also get food from HDFFA programs, which has been a lovely thing. We purchase food. A great deal of our food is purchased because we have to plan for up to 600 meals a day. We can't just sort of go, oh, whatever you have today, that'll be great. So we do get a tremendous amount of food through purchases at Cisco, and kind of, we turned into a big boy restaurant a little while ago and had to start having that kind of a relationship. We didn't used to do that, so. But gleaning in the summer, we are one of those places that seems to have a lot of zucchini for some reason. So we do get some food that way, yeah, right? But in all of that, the goal is, and I think you'll hear this a lot from all three of us and anybody else you talk to, the goal is to really try to make the food that's being made available for free to folks of the highest quality and as much variety as we can make it. We're pretty expert at throwing every kind of ingredient into a soup that somebody wouldn't eat otherwise, but don't tell them there's kale in their soup. So I think that it is a beautiful thing in our area, the amount of cooperation to make sure that we aren't just throwing just whatever at people for the food that's available.
I'm Abigail Gusky. I'm the Community Food Access Manager at the High Desert Food and Farm Alliance. And we are a local nonprofit organization that operates throughout Central Oregon. We've been working in Central Oregon since 2012. So we've been around for a little bit more than 10 years. Our mission kind of statement is everyone deserves good food. We believe that everyone deserves to have that access to really good food. And we define good food as affordable, nutritious, and sustainably produced in Central Oregon. So we're kind of hyper focused on the local food system and local food production for both food access, and we also have a variety of programs that support agricultural development for our local farms and ranches here. Our mission is kind of going towards supporting a healthy and thriving food and farm network here in Central Oregon through education, collaboration, and inclusion. So I help manage our food access programs. We have 5 that are operating right now. So these food access programs aim to improve food security in Central Oregon. We advocate and work in addition to bend a variety of rural communities and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. And through these food access programs, we also work to support farms and ranches in our local food system. So we're kind of operating in a cyclical food system network to support food access, support community, and also support our local farms and ranches. So kind of how we connect to the community, I work really intensely with Neighborimpact personally. I'm there about 2 to 3 times a week. Trevor probably doesn't want to see me anymore. So the main program that I help coordinate that connects with the broader community is our Grow and Give program. It's a fresh food drive. It's one of many in Central Oregon. We kind of operate at a large scale, and that is we collect local food, fresh food donations at the variety of farmers markets throughout Central Oregon. You might have seen our booths at the Downtown Bend Farmers Market or Northwest Crossing. And I also go out to local farms to do pickups and on-farm harvesting of fresh food, because the goal of that program is to deliver like high demand fresh food to pantries, and it all goes to Neighborimpact in Redmond, where they're able to distribute it to their partners. So we focus on getting those leafy greens, really high quality, often organic produce. We do fruit such as tomatoes, highly perishable items that are coming from within a 23-mile radius directly to the food pantry. So we're kind of operating a farm-to-table connection directly with the food bank. I love that program. I used to work in farms, so it's my passion project for HDFFA. This year we've harvested and collected over 44,000 pounds of donations for Neighborimpact. And I can't remember the Feeding America calculation, but that equates to almost over 30,000 meals, with a meal being about 1.2 pounds per individual. So we are working with them to help provide that really important nutritious food for people. And we also have several other programs that I will touch on briefly. We do our Fresh Harvest Kit program, which is a ready-to-make meal kit that we provide for free with several pantries throughout Central Oregon. And it comes with fresh produce, pantry staples, spices from Savory Spice in Old Mill, and a recipe to create a nutritious meal on a budget. It's kind of modeled after Blue Apron. We believe that everyone should have access to such an item as a meal kit to help with fast but nutritious food preparation. We also do Veggie RX, which is our vegetable prescription program. We started that up again this year, and that is a program that works to connect people with diet modifiable diseases who are also food insecure to free produce and nutritional one-on-one counseling with our on-staff nutritionist. And we also have our rural food security project, where we are reaching out to rural communities in Central Oregon, supporting them with food access initiatives and programs, and increasing access to fresh local food in rural communities. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It is so fascinating to hear about, I don't know, just like the sheer amounts of food that you all are processing daily to feed folks here in Deschutes County and in the greater Central Oregon region. We're gonna shift focus a little bit and talk about what food security currently looks like in Deschutes County. So, are there any sort of current figures or facts that you might have on the number of people who experience food insecurity in Deschutes County?
She's our facts person.
I probably am. My problem is I always think of all of Central Oregon.
If not, I have a couple too.
Yeah, I mean, Deschutes County is hovering right around a little over 8%, which is our lowest of the 3 counties. However, that's still a lot more people because Deschutes County has a higher population. So it's still a significant amount of people. I wish I could do math better in my head and tell you what that is. Math is hard. Yeah, it's, you said it well at the,
Yeah, that was different though. But I'm happy to bring it up.
what was that?
It was just poverty.
It's a nice stat.
So Carly and I did a program together last Friday with some middle school students, and one of the things I had looked up, and I think it's certainly germane to this conversation, is the number of folks in Central Oregon who are at or below the poverty line. The definition of the poverty line, which I won't quote, but the point is, the equivalent, because I was talking to kids, but it certainly helps the rest of us too. The equivalent number is every school in the Bend Lapine School District, all students, all staff of every school in that school district is the number of people who are at or below the poverty line in Central Oregon. So it's 20,000 people. And I think that is a great way to visualize it, because that's really showing you, we know there's a lot of schools here. So that's a number that I think we can kind of hold on to, but yeah, that was just that part.
I just think that's such a great visual when Donna mentioned that. And I think in the last few years, food banking has really shifted into low income and middle income service to folks. So the eligibility requirements is self-reporting at 300% of the federal poverty level. And I'm sure y'all know that middle income folks are really struggling here in Central Oregon, and that's a big shift for us because housing prices, the cost of living, inflation, of livable wages, I mean, all of those have really, really been highlighted as a significant problem. So we do know that our middle income folks also need a lot of assistance here in Central Oregon and really across the state. So that has been a shift for us as well with the number of people we serve.
Yeah, and I think one comment that I can offer from our organization's perspective is, as we see kind of overall food security. I don't want to say the number, like food security is declining because that's harsh to say, but it seems like numbers of need are going up. And from our organization's point of view, what that kind of means for us is we're seeing more people wanting to come in and partner with our food access programs. We've seen an increase in need for grant funding, so we are increasing our efforts to employ more staff to go out find more grant funding for our food access programs, and also increase the amount of food that we are sourcing from the local community, while also seeing our farms and ranches really experiencing the additional swings of the pressure of inflation, cost of land. With climate change, we're looking at changes in weather patterns and drought, and that's also challenging for a local food system. So we're really focusing on trying to increase food security in the region by providing that like strength and continued support of the local food system, so we can have increase in viability for food access.
Donna, did you have another? Yeah.
I think, you know, the question about what food security looks like from our perspective. So the difference between a meal site and a food bank, or, you know, any of our food box programs, you'll hear it referenced as a food box. If you dive a little deeper, the people that can receive a food box need a place to store the food, need a place to cook the food. And so we do tend to, or very importantly, I think, because we don't think about this, need the time to make the food as well, and you know, and or source it and all of that. So there is an aspect there. So in our case, we're providing, you know, already put together meals, and so, you know, a secure part of that is reliability. You know, the knowledge that there will be a meal at the time that it is said it's going to be, cannot be underscored enough for the population that I see. In so many of the cases, there's so much they're needing to pull together on a daily basis, just to survive. And I know that sounds so dramatic, but it's true. That if they can know this place says it's got a meal, it's gonna happen, it never hasn't happened, you know, that's a very big deal. And that works for, you know, all of us in all the different programs that we are. So there is something about certainly the overarching process by which we get all of this food needing to be as secure as possible for folks. There is, down to our level, the really big responsibility of making sure that we're always there for them. So I think that's something I wanted to just underscore. When you consider one of the other poverty pieces that I think was important to talk about, and Carly and I did with this class, people often don't really think too much, and that was part of Carly's statistic, but they don't think too much about that. What is it to be just at the poverty line or above? And it's worse. I can promise you it is worse if you have some means but not enough means than it is to be having no means. When you have no means, we're really pretty good in this area about having some things to help you survive. When you have some means, you get cut out of a lot of programs, and you have to work hard to go get yourself into them. There's lots of time and running around to different places to do that. So that's an access and a security thing just in and of itself. So.
Awesome. Thank you for underscoring that point. That was something from our last First Thursday that we also talked about, where that sort of middle income group experiences hardship because they are too high over a threshold to access certain services, but are still struggling without having access to those services. So thank you for that really good point there. Could you guys just very briefly talk about whether you are seeing food insecurity disproportionately affect certain demographics? So whether that is children in our schools, seniors, different groups.
Yeah, it's a great question. I can tell you statistically, all of our partner agencies report back the individuals served. So each month, over 60,000 individuals on a duplicated basis access some sort of emergency food program. And 37% of those that are recipients are children. We do know that during COVID, we had universal school meals for all kids, and that safety net has gone away, and we're back to qualifying students for free and reduced meals. And we hear through our mobile pantry and through our partner agencies that, and seeing it in our numbers, when that safety net program expired, we saw a significant uptick in folks coming to pantries, because that was such a help to the budget, knowing that their children could have a breakfast and a lunch and sometimes a after school snack or supper. So 37% are children. 74% of folks that come through an emergency program are white. But Central Oregon is very white, so those stats are not really as significant. We do know that women tend to come more to pantries and meal sites, seek access, typically because single moms or caregivers are known to have higher rates of food insecurity. We do know that LGBTQ plus folks definitely experience higher rates of food insecurity and poverty, typically because they don't have a support system for many, many reasons. So we do know that those are demographics, certain populations that will have greater rates of food insecurity, BIPOC as well. And so those are what we're serving, but we do know that is if folks feel comfortable enough sharing their own demographics as well. We don't require it. So the data is inconclusive, I would say.
Positive note, because why not? We're depressing you, I know. So one positive note of an increase in security for food has come through the fact that we now have shelters, and that's directly, I see it because that's where our meal count has gone up so much, and so to me that is an indicator of the collaborative nature around here. So the fact that we finally have shelters, and I'm not sure, I'll do a quickie on that. I don't know if you realize, but up until 2 years ago, we had no low barrier shelter at all. And every winter we would come up to, around October, and some of us service provider folks would go, uh-oh, it's gonna be cold. We should probably do something about this, and have to go figure it out. And so the fact that there is the Second Street shelter for anybody to be there, and low barrier means that they can be high or drunk as long as they are able, or in an episode of mental health, as long as they're able to keep everyone else safe. If they start making that difficult, then it's a different scenario. But so those folks are now predictably somewhere where they can get case management by the many organizations in our area that can, take care of a person. And so predictably housed means predictably fed as well, and predictably able to access services. So that's been a positive in all of this. I will say the numbers of seniors who are facing insecurity is definitely going up. Trying to live on a fixed income in this area is ridiculous, if not impossible. So there's that, and there are, various programs. It just sort of depends on where you're able to fit within that. There's certainly Meals on Wheels that helps out a tremendous amount. Not everyone qualifies. So that is a number that's gone up. We are definitely seeing many more new faces on site as well. I don't want to make it sound like there's no people showing up for a meal at our location. We are definitely seeing people, new faces at our location every day. So generally, the need is up with the lack of the measures that we had there during COVID.
Thank you for connecting that to the larger picture. I did not know that fact about the shelters here in this area, so that's a lot to take in, but good information to have. So we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the barriers to food access, but also some of the solutions that can come out of community involvement, community engagement, and working together. I'm gonna let Abigail start. I know you talked earlier about the farms and ranches that you source produce and meat from can sometimes struggle with things like drought or lack of support in harvesting and that sort of a thing. So if you want to talk a little bit about that barrier through your organization and some things that you guys have done to overcome some of those.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm sure, as we all know, when we go to shop locally and shop for local food, it's usually very expensive. So that's definitely a barrier that our organization faces every day, is how do we make local food more accessible, especially to those who are experiencing food insecurity. And oftentimes local farms and ranches, they will also experience food insecurity in some way. So some of the barriers just that our food system faces locally is we are up against water restrictions with drought that kind of stems from climate change and our arid area here in the high desert. Also, kind of as Carly mentioned, with inflation, it's very hard to pay farm workers a livable wage, especially in this area with increases in housing. So those are some barriers that our organization faces when we're looking to connect local farms and ranches with the food pantries and food banks in the area, in addition to providing just like more access to local food to the community, because it is often very expensive, hard to access, and hard to support kind of in that circular economy. Some of the, oh my gosh, I drank too much coffee this morning. I'm just having a mind blank. Some of the programs that we are working to address those barriers and those challenges are, we are funded through the USDA's Community Food Project. It's a major grant that we have received, and we're entering into the third year of that project. And that project directly delivers funding to reimburse our farm partners. So HDFFA, we have local farm partners, and if they donate to our Grow and Give program, we are able, and this is through COVID relief funding primarily paired with USDA, that we are able to do this, to offer a discount wholesale rate reimbursement for their donation. So I have this number here. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to reimburse farmers over $26,000 for their donations of fresh food to the local community. And that is one way in which we're trying to break that barrier of price and labor, to give farmers something back, and also to have them think that food access can be a viable area for my business. I can work locally, I can save money by producing through these connections, and I can receive that boost in donation at the end of the season. So that's one way in which we're looking to address that barrier. Also writing more grants, connecting more with community resources and organizations so we can really strengthen our local food system in all areas.
Just really quick, yeah.
So I would like some of the audience members, if you're comfortable, to maybe shout out what you think some potential barriers might be. I'm gonna go around and collect our question cards though, so that we can get to that portion of our panel. I'll give this to you guys while.
The folks in Warm Springs are running it, but there is no grocery store in Warm Springs. I'm just using this as a transportation example. There is no grocery store in Warm Springs. There is a it was like a inflated convenience store. Is that a good way?
Yeah, they call it the Warm Springs Market.
Yeah, definitely not something you're not gonna get all of your food there, right? And very expensive. And then there is no food pantry, but there is the commodities program. So if you lived on the reservation, to get to a grocery store or to go to a pantry or to a meal site, you have to have reliable transportation, and it's far, and the gas is expensive, and Central Oregon is not super great, and that's not a dig on any one organization, but Central Oregon is not really great about central transportation.
Doesn't the Presbyterian Church up at the reservation have a food pantry?
They've closed.
They did.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna just yes, please shout out in a second. I was gonna throw out the opposite side to what I just said on the upper, so sorry. But there isn't enough shelter yet. So one of the other barriers is that, yes, we are now somewhat stably housing, I believe, 350 more people than we were 2 years ago. There are, at the very bare minimum, 1,100 people who are living unsheltered in our area. So that's a nice number to have sheltered. But as far as there being any kind of barrier, as we said, if we can get them to someplace where they can be reliably housed, then we can reliably provide food as well.
I was just wondering, where are the food pantry? I'm new in it, but like in Sisters, years ago we lived there, and I would work at we didn't call it food pantry, I can't remember what we called it, but through Kiwanis.
Oh yeah,
Everybody
it's a
knows
food
where
pantry.
it is, but it's a small town. But like I've never heard of anything except, like Family Kitchen and Bethlehem Inn, but where are the pantries?
Just name all 50
I was like, this could be a great memory game for me. I will tell you, if you go to neighborimpact.org, we have a lovely map. If you go to the website and you click on Get Food, you can filter wherever your location is, and there'll be all of our partner agencies in those areas. They'll tell you if you're a meal site, a pantry, a supplemental program, a mobile pantry, the hours, phone number, that type of thing.
How many are there in Bend? About most like 10 or 4 or 2?
It depends on what you're qualifying.
Well, in Sisters, I only have one example.
There were
or
2
in
in
Phoenix, you
Sisters.
could drop, when we lived in Arizona,
Mhm.
you took your packages of food, you organized and you took them over to this pantry in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or closest one. You
Yeah.
don't do that here?
Oh yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah, I mean, our food bank facilitates the bulk of food, and one of our sources is USDA food, and so it's government food, and so that has to come through us as a federal contract. But there is absolutely, if folks want to just donate straight to a local pantry in Bend, so we have St. Vincent de Paul in Bend, we have Salvation Army, there's the Giving Plate, there's Nativity,
Saving Grace,
Shepherd's House.
Shepherd's House.
and they do more so meals and sack lunches. They're not as much of a pantry type program, so they're a little bit different. But any of those organizations will love to accept donations, and again, they're on our website. You can call them and say, hey, what do you need, or I've got XYZ to donate. And because we're so connected really well as a food banking network, even if you call one of the food emergency sites and say, I have a bunch of canned food items. Somebody will be able to say, you know what organization really could use that right now is St. Vincent and
I'd
Grenadines.
like to put a plug in for the Ben Food Project. And
Which is the giving.
basically what the Ben Food Project does is collect bags of food every 2 months. You leave a green bag on your front porch. And I'm a neighborhood coordinator. We go around and we pick them up. And then those items are then given to the Giving Plate.
Yeah.
So
That is a Giving Plate food drive.
Yeah.
That is a Giving Plate. So just to be clear, it's only clients that go to the Giving Plate that receive that food, which is great because they do serve St. Vincent and Bend, and the Giving Plate are the most amount of individuals through a pantry. St. Vincent Bend are a shopping style pantry, so we love that. Clients can come through and pick exactly what they want for their dietary needs, cultural needs. So St. Vincent Bend, the Bend Food Project is fantastic, and thank you for being a coordinator. But because the Giving Plate is so large, there are other pantries I like to shout out for that are doing great work too. Yeah.
Do grocery stores donate?
Yeah, so we have a food recovery program through Neighborimpact. We have 2 trucks on the road 5 days a week. We work with 19 grocery stores in Deschutes County to pick up food that is that the grocery stores can't sell, imperfect foods like we like to call them, or ugly foods. And we pick up, so our drivers, we have 2.5 full-time drivers, pick up roughly 3,000 pounds of food from the grocery stores every day.
And that goes to you, and then you distribute it.
Yeah, so the way we facilitate that now, because our warehouse is so small for the amount of food, the way we facilitate that is through what programs called free food markets, also on our website. So our drivers go directly to a partnering organization and deliver the food. That organization will set out that food recovery food on tables, and as shopping style. Then clients come in, shop it that day, and goes home. So we very rarely bring back grocery rescue food to our warehouse. We want that to go out that day.
So the Native American community don't have any programs to care for their own?
They do, yes. So there is a program called FIDPER, and that is formerly known as Commodities. If you are a tribal member, you can choose to receive SNAP benefits that you can use at the grocery store. You can choose to receive FIDPER, or formerly known as Commodities. And now they are self-running a USDA pantry as well. So there are some programs there. Elders tend to gravitate more towards the Commodities program because of lack of transportation and the ability to get down to basically Madras to do their grocery
And
grocery
commodity
shopping.
would be what, sugar, flour, what?
It depends. It also falls under the USDA umbrella, as we do with the Emergency Food Program and SNAP and school meals. It's coming a long way. They are working through that program, more culturally appropriate foods. So recently they're shifting more into grains that are appropriate for Native Americans. Flour is not a white flour is not necessarily culturally appropriate. A lot of the processed food, peanut butters, there is a reason why our Native American neighbors have higher rates of obesity than us white folks, because they don't have the access to their culturally appropriate food. So bison, different types of whole grains, salmon, berries. So Commodities is slightly better. Yeah, please.
Yeah, and I'll add just to that question, HCFFA, we work with the Warm Springs Community Action Team, which is a nonprofit that is run by tribal members, and we operate several of our fresh food programs in Warm Springs as well. We do our fresh harvest kits at the Warm Springs Market. Those are 30 kits a week that are available for free that contain fresh produce and pantry staples that come from reservation impact or commodities. And we also work to have our vegetable prescription program available to Warm Springs residents, where if they do have diet-related diseases such as obesity or heart disease, then they qualify to receive a food box of fresh food items. And then we also conducted a survey, I believe in 2021. It's called the Swishia Food Sovereignty Project, and that's a project run by the Warm Springs Community Action Team to help develop an increase of culturally appropriate foods and kind of have community define what they want to eat. And that is extremely important when working with any community that you're serving, is to connect them with food that they want to eat and really listen and have that be received. So we are working on that with them as well.
Thank you. I think it is really important for us to qualify what culturally appropriate means for different groups of people. So I appreciate that. I'm going to ask a couple of these questions here. We have a question about whether any of your organizations are connected to local community gardens for produce, or if there's any sort of a relationship with COCC and their Master Gardeners program.
Yes, HCFFA, we do work with most of the community gardens in Bend through our Grow and Give program. This year, thanks to a grant through the Environmental Center, we were able to place donation stations in all of our community gardens. I believe they're in Franklin's Corner, Miller's Landing, and Discovery Park. The Master Gardener Garden at Holland's Head, they have their own donation program, Direct to Neighborimpact. I've been tracking and receiving produce from those community gardens all summer. We kind of took a hiatus through COVID and due to lack of funding, but we came back this year and had those donation stations. So I rescued, I believe, over 300 pounds of fresh food from community gardens in Bend this year, and that has been a great connection to kind of work with Parks and Rec and community gardens there and have them donate their excess produce, so then it's not going to waste and filling up the landfill. Yes, lots of kale, lots of zucchini.
It looks like Donna wanted to add something to that as well.
Yeah, just super fast. I mean, definitely this happens outside of, so sorry guys, but outside of things too. So I get calls regularly during the summer from folks that just have a garden, and sweet story, there was a couple that has several fruit trees on their property and got a hold of me on email and said, we just can't harvest it. We're not mobile enough. So if somebody can come get it, we'd be happy to donate it. So we had a little staff outing and went and picked a bunch of plums and apricots and apples, and we now have quite a lot actually. Yeah. So sorry, we that just bypassed the whole system.
Yeah. We have so many plums.
Apples are and an interesting fact too, things to think about. The apples are tough because our clientele tend to not be able to eat them. So we're just teeth issues, and so, but we're putting it into crisp, and we're gonna make it into applesauce, and it'll all be used. It's just apples are a toughie to get out to folks generally in our world, just for that reason. So interesting tidbit.
Kimberly Orchard called me this morning and says, we have 5 field bins of more peaches and plums and nectarines to donate to you, so here we come.
It's the bulk call. We're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Bulk.
So, I work with an organization called the Hunger Prevention Coalition, and we raise dollars to help supplement food boxes and meal sites, but that's another. So we had a meeting last week, and there was a representative there from Project 1017, and they provide ground beef. at a extremely reasonable price per pound. It's frozen, it's USDA, slaughtered and approved, and, I think it's around 65 cents a pound for a package.
$2.62.
$2.62. It's less.
Because I buy it by the
Yeah,
semi-load.
right.
So.
It's less, but what it said was, if there was a commercial site for frozen food, a warehouse of a freezer warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be able to get a tremendous amount more from Harris Ranch.
Mhm.
Is there anything in the works to facilitate that? They don't wanna buy a warehouse freezer, they want to rent freezer space.
That's probably you.
Okay.
I can add if you want.
You wanna say?
Yeah, so that is a really good question. I work pretty closely with Holly McLean on that project. Neighborimpact is building a new warehouse here shortly, any day now. We've been fundraising for the last 2 years on that project. So we will have a larger freezer for that. Right now, our freezer space is pretty inadequate. I don't know if that beef, once we bring it in, we do turn it out pretty quickly. One note is that not all of our partner agencies can afford $2.62. So some, yeah, it did used to be less, but that's where it is now. So in comparison to when we do food recovery at the grocery stores, because there's no processing, our share cost is 14 cents a pound.
Right.
So it does, there's a barrier, like for me with my food resourcing hat on. In a way, I try to be equitable with our partner agencies, and we have large partner agencies. The Giving Plate is a good one. They fundraise, they fundraise a lot of money, but then we have these smaller partner agencies who, especially in our rural areas, who are just getting by. And $2.62 a pound for 100 individuals is out of their budget.
Right.
But as far as a big freezer, I mean, we have snow temp, which is cooler, and our food bank uses that as overflow storage every single week for produce. But we will have a large freezer, but I don't see us taking on the role of building those. Those are so expensive. Those are so expensive. It's energy expense.
Even though they would be willing to rent it.
Yeah, I gotta build this warehouse first before I grab and even where to store a very large freezer with the cost of land right now is very out of our food bank budget for that. But we do turn it over quickly. So when the opportunity does arise and we bring it in and it goes out within, 2 weeks. So we do move it pretty quickly.
Not a no, it's a not right now sort of project, or
That one's kind of complicated.
Right,
I mean,
right.
we used to get beef from them directly, and they changed their model, and so it's an interesting one. I'm not sure we can get to the answer today.
okay, that's fair. Can't solve all of the barriers today. A lot of these remaining questions are around how to get involved, and so we are pretty quickly coming up on the end of our program today. So if each of you want to just share some closing thoughts and ways to get involved with your organization, if folks are interested, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I just would like to thank you all for having us today. It was a great conversation, really inspiring questions, so thank you all for being our audience. If you want to get involved with High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, I've left some of our local directories out front. They have all the information about our organization and contact information, etc. but you can also find us online at hdffa.org. We have volunteer positions that are open and available throughout the summer if you're interested in kind of more like outside on-farm activities, and we also have community-oriented events as well. We always accept donations as we are a nonprofit. All of those donations go to support our food access and agricultural support programs. And we are kind of moving into more of the policy space. The last thing we worked to sponsor on was Food for All Oregonians, which unfortunately died in the House. But we expect to be sponsoring and like pushing for some more policy moving forward. So please keep your eyes out for any food access related policies moving forward. That always supports our community base as well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to piggyback off of what Abby said. Oregon Food Bank is, again, our state hub. They have a really great website on policy. And Food for All Oregonians is a great example. They'll go back to bringing that back to the ballot, but Oregon Food Bank, if you check out their website, they have some great information on policies and what's that?
Voter guides.
Yeah, and some voter guides. So if you're interested in that type of advocacy work, I highly suggest that. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for being engaged, having these conversations about what are working and all of our community is experiencing. It's a tough time for so many folks here, especially in Deschutes County. So any opportunity we can to engage, to reduce stigma about coming for food assistance, removing the stereotypes of who's visiting our meal sites and our pantries and our mobile pantries, is a really important part of what we do. So I appreciate you taking the time, asking the great questions. We at Neighborimpact would always need volunteers, specifically at our mobile pantries. Have flyers out front. But any way you'd like to get engaged with food banking, whether it's with Neighborimpact or one of our partner agencies, you can always contact one of us. No wrong door at Neighborimpact. We'll get you hooked up with whichever organization you're interested in.
Ditto, all the things. And especially in front of this group. Again, Carly and I have been on a panel before where just vote with this information, please. It just makes such a difference, and it's so frustrating when we see these things on the ground floor level and don't see the support coming forward. So yes, voting, big deal. As far as Family Kitchen is concerned, we also, volunteers at our organization can do anything from, if you want to be on site for meal services, there's cooking, there's serving, there's cleaning up, there's all sorts of things. There's grocery shopping, because Robin goes south for the winter, and she's one of our shoppers. You get a credit card, it's kind of fun. But there's also folks that don't necessarily want to be in a large group of people or whatever. We have the grocery shopping is one of those volunteer efforts. Also, cardboard recycling. There's somebody who comes up and picks up our cardboard every week and takes it to the recycling center. There's folks that take our towels home and aprons. Those people are saints. That wash that stuff and bring it back to us. So there's a lot of ways to help us out that are short term here and there kinds of things. And then of course financial. We are predominantly funded by individuals. So your individual donations are amazing for us, and our number one cost in our budget is food and food related service items. So thank you for your time here.
Oh, can I say one more?
Yeah, of
Okay. So as voters, okay, and
Let's go on the road.
yes, let's keep a very close eye on the farm bill that significantly impacts all three of us in our organization, and who we are electing that support that farm bill. I'm not gonna jump on a platform, but any cuts to that farm bill significantly impacts food access.
Thank you.
If you would continue to reach out to us when you know of legislation that's coming up,
Yeah.
that would be very helpful, because maybe the league doesn't have a position on it,
Yeah.
but we can as individuals contact our legislators.
Yeah.
So you need to keep us advised too, okay?
Yeah.
Just send me email addresses, it's fine.
Awesome. So that kind of concludes today's First Thursday presentation. We will be back here next month, I believe. Yes? I believe so? Okay. Yes, we will be back here next month. And there were quite a few resources that were mentioned today during the presentation. I will make myself responsible for sort of gathering all of those different resources that were mentioned and sending it out in a follow-up email, so that if you are interested in participating or learning where food bank locations are, all of that information is readily accessible to you.
Thank you,
So,
Elizabeth.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.